To start off the season, the Washington Wizards have looked completely trash, having a 2-5 record where they started 0-5. And their 5 losses came against the 76ers, the Magic twice, and the Bulls twice. And the scary thing is that they lost to the Bulls, who are complete trash, not just once, but 2 times. And one of their wins was against the Timberwolves without Karl-Anthony Towns, which isn't impressive at all. And I will admit that their win against the Brooklyn Nets was impressive, but they won just by Kyrie and KD missing 2 easy shots that they could have hit for the win. And so all this leads me to believe that they aren't good. But in today's video, I will be discussing how good I believe the Washington Wizards are, as well as what their problems are early into the season. But before we get into that, I ask you to drop a like on this video because it helps my channel grow and only takes a second of your time. Also subscribe to my channel to help me reach 700 subscribers before the end of January, and put a comment down below to start a conversation with me because I respond to all my comments, and play that intro. So far, Washington has been atrocious on defense, and that is expected since if you look at their roster, they don't have a single above average defender in the league. And on defense, sometimes they seem like they don't give full effort. They rank 26th in defensive rating and 28th in opponent teams' points per game. Although they have such terrible defenders, I think if their coach made a decent scheme and got them to put more effort on defense, they could maybe be in a slightly below average defense, which could make a huge impact. And on offense, they have lived up to their potential, as they ranked 4th in the league in points per game, as they average 117 points per game. And a huge reason for that is Bradley Beal, who has shown so far that his 30 points per game average from last season was not a fluke, as he's been averaging 31 points per game, 4 rebounds and 4 assists, shooting 47% from the field, but only 27% from 3, which I do expect to tick up. But it's troubling seeing how Beal has played well and the Wizards are still taking L's. If Beal was struggling and they were losing, you could argue that would be better, because you could point to Beal and say, oh, they're losing because of Beal's play. But now I struggle to see any way Beal can play better to increase their wins. And yes, I'm aware that he's shooting 27% from 3, but I don't think Beal missing his 3s is the reason for their losses. And all this leads me to believe Beal will request a trade, because he's playing nearly as well as he can and they're still taking L's. And from what we have been seeing so far, it's clear that Russ isn't good enough to help him get wins. Speaking of Russ, he's been playing like Russ, as he's been averaging 20 points and 13 rebounds and 12 assists, but shooting an inefficient 42% from the field and 26% from 3. And if I'm being honest, I think he's been playing well, because he's averaging 12 assists, which means he's setting up his teammates. And the big fear people had with Russ going to Washington is the fear that he would go to Washington and act like he's the best scorer and take away shots from Beal. Well, Beal hasn't had the ball taken away from him. And although Russ's efficiency has been terrible, at the end of the day, throughout most of his career, he has been inefficient. So at this point, we're used to it. But Russ definitely isn't the reason for their losses, as he has a positive plus-minus. And I think there's a chance Russ's efficiency improves this season. Since last year on the Rockets, they had a lot of spacing, and he had the most efficient season of his career. And this Wizards team has quite a lot of shooting from Beal, Bertons, Denny, and Thomas Bryan, who was above average for his position. To start the season for the Wizards, their rookie Denny Advija has been very solid, averaging 8 points, nearly 3 assists, and 5 rebounds, shooting over 50% from the field and 47% from 3. And although those numbers don't look super eye-popping, you have to remember he's playing on a Wizards team who has playoff aspirations, so they aren't directly focused on developing their young players. He's also playing with Russ, one of the more ball-dominant players in the history of the NBA, and Denny has shown that he's a capable shooter in the league, and he has looked comfortable in the offense as a ball handler and passer. Thomas Bryan has started very well, especially on offense, as he has looked like a very good offensive player, as he has averaged 17 points per game, shooting 65% from the field and 50% from 3 on little less than 3 attempts. But the problem with that is that Bryan has only averaged 6.7 rebounds as a starting NBA center. But even though I think Bryan is a below average rebounder, Russ right now is averaging nearly 13 rebounds per game, so I think he might be stealing some of his. But my main concern with Thomas is how bad he is on defense, because he is terrible at guarding the perimeter as he constantly gets blown by, and it's at the point where he's not even a good rim protector, as it seems anytime anyone goes to the rim, they get an easy bucket at the rim or they foul. Thomas also has one of the best plus minuses on the team, so I think overall he still has a positive impact, and I think there's a chance that he might be the third best player on this team this season. So overall, I'm high on Thomas Bryan. His defense is just trash. Rui Hachimura has missed the first 4 games of this season with an injury, but ever since he has returned, he has been very good, averaging 14 points per game, shooting over 50% from the field and 40% from 3 on less than 2 attempts. And if I had to make a prediction, I think he will be the third best player on this team, as he's actually able to create his own shot at a decent level, and I believe depending on how much shots he's allowed to take, he could be a near 20 points per game scorer. Bertons has gotten off to a rough start to start the season, only averaging 11 points and is shooting only 35% from the field and 32% from 3, but I expect his numbers to increase, and he still has a positive impact as his shooting draws the defense, meaning it provides more space for Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal. So I'm not too worried about him. But the rest of this roster is pretty trash, with them having Ish Smith, Raul Neto, Troy Brown, Isaac Bonga, and Robin Lopez. And besides Ish, I don't see any of those guys making a significant impact. And I think Bonga has the potential to be a great defender, but he has to put it all together. But to make a prediction about the Wizards, I honestly think their game against the Nets showed their full potential, and it made me realize that they have a real chance to make the playoffs. But I honestly think their lack of defense will hold them back, and since they're so bad on defense, they will be relying a lot on their offense. So I think that can cause them to be an inconsistent team, because if they're not hitting their shots, they have an argument to be blown out by any team in the league. So my prediction is that they will miss the playoffs as a 9th or 10th seed, but I do think they will be in the play-in tournament, and if they make that, anything's possible. Anyways guys, that's it for the video. Let me know if you think Washington will make the playoffs this season. Drop a like on this video because it helps my channel grow and only takes a second of your time. Subscribe to my channel to help me reach my goal of 700 subscribers before the end of January. And comment on this video to start a conversation with me because I respond to all my comments. And I'm out.